An archive photograph from Fordlandia records a diseased rubber tree leaf in April 1936. Its surface is visibly damaged. Nothing else in the image moves, yet the leaf seems to carry the verdict on an entire city. Henry Ford had made machines behave with astonishing precision. In the Amazon, had a tree finally defeated him? It is a satisfying story. Industrial power enters the rainforest, and nature refuses to cooperate. Leaf blight really did become a severe obstacle. Still, one damaged leaf cannot explain years of planting, conflict, adaptation, partial success, and eventual retreat. The answer begins earlier, when Ford changed the conditions under which the rubber tree had to live. The tree was Hevea brasiliensis, native to the Amazon. Beneath its bark runs the white latex that made it valuable. Latex can be collected only while the tree remains alive. The commodity depends on years of biological growth. In a forest, rubber trees grow within a layered community of other species. They are present across distance and uneven ground, shaped by local moisture, soil, insects, and disease. Ford needed them to behave as a crop. By the 1920s, every expanding motor industry needed rubber. Ford controlled much of what entered his cars, but rubber still had to be grown far from his factories. A Brazilian plantation promised a supply of his own. In 1927, Ford's company received a large concession beside the Tapajós River. Planting began the following year. This was meant to become a working source of industrial rubber, not a symbolic outpost. The transformation was physical. Forest was cleared, roads and buildings divided the land. Rubber trees were gathered into managed rows, close enough to tap efficiently and regular enough to count. An organism that had belonged to a complicated forest was being asked to deliver dependable latex, season after season. Those orderly rows concealed variation. Planting material had arrived from Acre, Rondônia, Amazonas, Pará, and nearby Boim, not from one proven identical line. Managers could measure the ground, but they could not make every tree carry the same strengths. Yield, disease resistance, growth, soil, and weather remained entangled inside the crop. The same desire for order reached the people hired to clear, plant, and tap. Ford's organization tried to regulate work and daily life according to company needs. Many Brazilian workers had seasonal livelihoods, family obligations, and alternatives outside the plantation. Other commodities and other forms of work could draw labor away. Leaving was itself a choice, not evidence that local people were incapable of work. A schedule designed in the language of industrial efficiency met people who could leave, resist, or choose another way to live. By 1930, the conflict had broken into the Quebra-Panela revolt. Popular versions often reduce the event to a dispute in a cafeteria. Brazilian accounts place it at the end of grievances that had been accumulating around discipline and everyday life. The exact spark remains less secure than the larger pattern. Ford's human order was already unstable. The botanical order was failing too. South American leaf blight attacks rubber tree leaves in the warm, wet conditions where the crop grows. In a managed plantation, many potential hosts occupied the same cultivated system. The climate that supported growth also gave infection repeated chances to return across the plantation. Repeated disease damaged the canopy and weakened the promise of reliable output. By the early 1930s, disease pressure and problems with the Fordlandia site demanded a different answer. The project moved toward Belterra after severe disease pressure and problems with the first site. This was not Fordlandia with a new name. The land changed, and so did the plant strategy. New material entered the program. Researchers selected promising trees, crossed them, and used grafting to combine useful latex production with crowns that might better withstand disease. Belterra produced some rubber. That one fact disturbs the clean legend of botanical revenge. The first plantation had not proved that rubber could never be cultivated in the Amazon. It had proved how much learning cultivation would require. At Belterra, people altered the plant material and earned a measure of success. Success never became certainty. The research problem was never resistance alone. A tree that yielded well could remain vulnerable. A tree that resisted disease might not provide enough latex. As plantation canopies developed between 1941 and 1943, leaf blight again reached epidemic levels. Selection and grafting helped, but the crop still refused the regularity Ford wanted from it. A failed machine part can be removed and replaced. A rubber tree takes years to grow before its value is known. The traits people want arrive attached to other traits, and all of them respond to place. Ford's researchers could study that living system. They could improve parts of it. Time and ecology stayed inside every result. Better trees also could not repair the whole enterprise. The plantations struggled to attract and retain labor. Costs remained heavy, while dependable output stayed limited. These problems amplified one another. A healthier canopy could not keep a worker on the plantation, and a larger workforce could not make diseased leaves productive. Then the world around Fordlandia changed. War made natural rubber strategically urgent. It did not suddenly make Amazon plantations irrelevant. Synthetic rubber expanded, but it was not a perfect replacement for every need. When Ford left Brazil in 1945, the decision belonged both to the long failure of the plantations and to a rubber economy transformed by war. So did the rubber tree defeat Henry Ford? Disease belongs near the center of the answer. Plantation design made an existing biological danger harder to manage. Company control produced labor conflict instead of stability. Belterra demonstrated adaptation, then exposed its limits. Cost and history gathered around a supply project that never became dependable. The tree was neither a passive victim nor a jungle warrior. It kept changing what Ford's organization could do. Its disease vulnerability helped drive the move to Belterra, while problems with the original site also mattered. The search for healthier, productive trees redirected research and helped determine what could be produced. The famous duel between man and nature is memorable. The record shows a living system pressing against another system that expected obedience. Ford's departure did not erase the botanical work. Selection, breeding, and grafting at the plantations joined a longer Brazilian effort to cultivate rubber under constant disease pressure. The plant that had been blamed for destroying an industrial dream also became material for learning after the dream was gone. Nor did Ford's departure empty Fordlandia. Buildings decayed, but people continued to live there and to hold interests in its land and future. A federal heritage listing request was denied in 2024, so the place did not enter the present through a simple preservation victory. In May 2026, a Brazilian federal judgment ordered public authorities to begin recovery and conservation planning, address property registration, and include the local community. The order began a process. It did not announce completed restoration. The diseased leaf from 1936 still rests inside Ford's archive. It offers evidence, not a verdict. Around the place where it was photographed, Fordlandia remains inhabited. The company could abandon its experiment. It could not reduce the rubber tree to a machine part, or the community beside the Tapajós to the ruins of someone else's story.